Hello everyone, I'm making a quick little video to introduce a new library that I've just developed. It's a library that's been close to my art for over 20 years. The goal was to manage to have a tool that allowed for making documents or presentations that are versatile, flexible, easy to maintain, and without limitations for people who have advanced needs. With the development of artificial intelligence and the expertise of generative artificial intelligence tools, I've also been able to use this project as a pilot experiment for the development methodologies I'm developing for the new generations of engineers, software engineers who can use generative AI for software engineering. So I used our methodology for the development of this project. So I'll tell you about the project. This library is a Python library that allows you, and I'll show you directly, to make documents like the documentation for the library itself that I created using the library. So you have a web page in your browser, and you see that this library ultimately has 5 chapters: the introduction to the library, the management and use of artificial intelligence to create your documents, then an advanced user manual, a deployment guide to be able to deploy your documents and distribute them, and a developer guide for people who want to contribute to the library. And so when you click, on the different chapters, we arrive here at the introduction, and so the user can consult the documentation. We're going to use the few handy little features, which are the management of the width and the dynamic loom here. So that way you can have the display that corresponds to your projection or your consultation. You have the table of contents, and you can search in your document for sections that talk about images, for example. So you can enter a set of keywords and get to the different chapters. So for example, here we get to the images section, and here we have the documentation that explains how we can insert a document, an image, into a document, into a slide. Then there is also, of course, a whole module that allows for inserting images or using generative AI to generate images and integrate them into presentations automatically based on what you want to say. So we'll see that in another video. So here you have the introductory manual, you have the advanced manual, and then you have the AI manual. So we've developed, I've developed, let's say, 43 commands, 6 agents, 16 skills, and 4 profiles that can be used. And then there's everything to do with deployment and everything that programming and development of the library. So in practical terms, it's a library that's available here on PYPI StreamTeX version 048 for now. And then you have, of course, the Git repo that you can clone, which is available here. So it's an open source library. You have the option to deploy, as I've done to illustrate, all the documentation. So all your projects, your documents, your presentations, your slides that you want to make accessible to other people, you can deploy them on a service here. Runda. And so here I've deployed the introduction on Render, which means you have a URL here that you can share for each of your documents or presentations. And so people can access your documents independently. Of course, there are different types of subscriptions here. There's a free subscription that allows you to deploy. It's obviously a bit slower than on a normal machine, but it gives access to your documents. So there we go. That's the first general overview. I'm also going to show you how it works when you want to make a presentation. Typically, if you install the artificial intelligence module, you'll have access with your Claude license on your project. Here you have Claude, which you launch in the folder of your project that you've installed. I'm not talking about the installation in this presentation. And then you're going to ask it to develop your presentation overall by providing it with the elements you want for the presentation. And so all the inputs and all the requests. And you're going to gradually update your presentation by interacting with the AI. So I did that, and a presentation. Hello world. Yes, actually, the port isn't available because I've launched others. So once you've done this process, you'll manage to have your first presentation, which is what I did for the Hello World, and you can launch the visualization of your project in your browser. Here typically is this little Hello World where I display Hello World, and I've added a little button because these are of course presentations that can be completely interactive. And there we go. I'm going to show you some advanced features that we have in the Advanced User Manual. So this library allows you to create any interactive presentation with all the power of a web page, Python programming, and artificial intelligence. So you can, for example, it can be integrated with various other languages. If you have some Markdown, you can certainly insert Markdown, as we can see here. If you have some LaTeX, you can of course insert LaTeX, hence the name StreamTeX, which allows you to insert LaTeX into your presentations. So styled Markdown, LaTeX, interactive presentations with buttons, there we go, which allow you to change the display and let users look at different things. There we go. You also have the option, if you wish, of including or enabling other modules within the system, such as drawing modules or perhaps modules for table insertion, depending on your particular needs or preferences. And you have, I'll go straight to the drawing modules. So typically you have a lot of power regarding the insertion of diagrams. In your presentations, you can use all the power of GraphViz to make this kind of diagram, or that one there. You have all the power of... What's the second option we put in? So that's still GraphViz. Mermaid there. So you have mermaid diagrams, if that's something you use, with the interactivity of the diagrams. So you have the diagrams there, different diagrams that can be created. You have plant UML, also the possibility, if you use plant UML as a syntax, to insert your diagrams. Right there, so you can see a bit of all the types of diagrams that can be made. You have TIGs, so if you have more scientific presentations, you can certainly insert your TIGs diagrams into your presentations. Here's an example of a diagram. You have the management of bibliographic references. So if you have references, you can certainly reuse your BibTeX format. For those using BibTeX or any other format, the library is compatible with several formats. Here they are. And you can therefore insert your references into your presentations, which will offer the possibility to access your references and insert them into the document, with links and clickable buttons so that people can, of course, make use of your references. You have the option to, when you're presenting lines of code or text in a particular language, you have the option to wrap your lines and unwrap them, for example. Here, if I add a window, That's narrower. I unwrap it, I can't see anything. If I wrap it, I see the full line. So it's a choice the user can have and that you can apply globally across the whole presentation. Now, this is very practical, especially for people who are in the technical field. And the last thing to possibly show you is the interactive widgets. You certainly have the possibility to create interactive presentations, and then all types of interaction easily. Without needing to know very advanced things, you have the possibility to add interactivity to your presentations. What else can I add for you as little things? But this is only a partial view. Uh, I think there are diagrams that could be interesting. So, in the introduction, I think we have that. There you go. You also have the possibility to make other types of diagrams like what you see on the screen, which are interactive bar and block charts. You can zoom in on the different sections. This will interest anyone who ultimately represents data on the whole and data distributions or similar. Any type of chart that you can integrate into your presentations and allow people to view the data. Of course, the tables, that's obvious. Right, so now let's return to our example for a moment. And finally, here I'll give you a tiny glimpse of what can be done using AI to modify, update, and maintain the documentation. So you have Claude components. I'm just going to ask it to replace. So I'm going to show you a bit how it's done now. To use AI to develop presentations, maintain them, modify them, and enrich them. I'm showing you a very, very simple little thing, but of course you can use many more information sources to design the first versions of your presentations. You'll see another video where I present this, where I give it, for example, the introduction to the library, and I ask it to make a presentation in 5 slides of the StreamTeX library. Here, I'm just going to ask it to replace "Hello World" with another phrase in the presentation. So what you see here is that it's connected to your entire project. It has skills that I've defined, which are in the various Claude components that are available and which ultimately allow you overall to produce and maintain your presentations without writing a single line of code, simply by explaining your intentions. As we see here, it suggests some changes. You confirm them if you've set it to request validation for each modification. And then you let it work so it does it correctly, which saves you from having to go and edit each of the files containing the phrases as we see them here. It'll replace the phrases in the right places so that your presentation matches what you want. So now it's finished, and I'm going to go back into my presentation and reload it. And that's it, and so on. That's to say that, well, I haven't, I haven't actually managed to write any of the elements of the user manual at all, really. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I haven't even started working on any of those sections yet. I just used AI and the AI modules to produce everything you're going to see in all these manuals presenting the library's features. So that gives you a bit of an idea of the power of the library and its capabilities. All the presentations you see here were generated by the skills we developed for Claude. There we go. More videos to come, and I hope this short video has made you want to try out this library. See you soon.